Good evening, I'm Jose Cardenas. We'll talk about the politics surrounding immigration reform, plus an annual art festival turns sidewalks into colorful canvases. And Arizona continues to be near the bottom nationally for the overall well-being of its children. We'll talk about the annual Kids Count report. All this coming up straight ahead on Horizonte.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station.
President Obama is asking for $3.7 billion to address the surge of illegal crossings by unaccompanied minors from Central America. Joining us to talk about where politics of immigration reform go from here is Lisa Magaña, Associate Professor of ASU's School of Transborder Studies. Dr. Magaña, welcome back to Horizonte.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
We talked about in the introduction where the politics go from here. This is nothing new in many ways,
Right.
and you and I were talking before, and you say it kind of breaks down into two types of immigration
I think typically
reform.
we think about immigration politics and policies into two ways: enforcement, such as the policing aspect, deportation, raid stings, more border enforcement, and then servicing, the legalization, allocating visas, giving people citizenship. And I have to say, I think politically, the enforcement part is usually a little bit more popular in Congress, and I think it's a little more sexier. We like to think of sort of funding the enforcement part rather than, the bureaucrats or the people that are helping to facilitate the service needs of immigrants.
We talk about the other part, though, when we want to say, no, we don't want to do that. For
Right.
example, deferred action and so forth. So much of it seems to be symbolic in connection with the most recent issue, the children coming from
Right.
Central America. A lot of people blaming the Obama administration, saying it's not protecting the borders.
Right.
Not that much substance.
Well, there isn't a lot of substance, and I'm so glad you said this, because we know historically that when apprehension rates go down, it's not because of a policy that has been passed or a law like SB 1070, it's because the economy has tanked. And I've had numerous conversations with Border Patrol and people that work with immigration policy that again will say people won't come if the economy is not robust. And of course, when the economy isn't robust, we don't have these types of laws or sort of anti-immigrant legislation. I'd like to give you a few examples of some of the more symbolic immigration politics or policies. So we talk about, you hear this a lot, securing the border. And if we think about this, almost 40% of the unauthorized population, which is estimated around 11 million, are visa overstayers, which means these aren't people that are racing through the border or trying to circumvent this big wall. These are people that have come in legally and their visas have worn out.
And this is actually particularly true of this most recent group, because they're not sneaking across the
Right.
border, they're turning themselves in to the authorities there.
Absolutely, that is part of it. But again, we like to think of this sort of idea of people just racing across the desolate Arizona desert, when we know that this is not, in fact, the case. This is the same argument for why we need to build a wall. And we know, again, this is symbolic rather than substantive, because Congress tried with the Fence Act to put a wall across Arizona. But as you know, and I know, that it's not completely flat. It's very expensive. It was spatially and environmentally impossible. But yet you'll hear candidates say, we need to finish the wall, we need to finish the fence.
And we've been hearing a lot of that lately from the candidates for governor. I want to come back to that, but before I do, going back to the entry of these children, the reason they're doing what they're doing in terms of turning themselves in is because of a law
Right.
that applies specifically to them.
Yeah, I want to say there's a difference between what the candidates are saying is a border crisis and what is in fact going on, and this is a refugee and humanitarian crisis. And there's a real distinction that these people are fleeing for well-founded fear of persecution or their lives are in danger, and this seems to be consistent, whether it's poverty, whether it's drugs, whether it's simply dangerous to live where you're living. And again, these are Central Americans, and you'll hear that a lot, this sort of using the two terms, but the law is people that are not from Mexico or not from Canada, that they will be given a fair proceeding to see whether or not they should be sent back home, or refouled is one of the words that you would use, sent back to their country of origin. And again, these are children. And so this law was created in 2008 by President Bush, or signed by President Bush, because of humanitarian and reasons that these are, again, children.
And yet we have President Obama criticized by many
Right.
For a bunch of what would seem to be contradictory
Right.
reasons.
And this is another one of those symbolic statements. And you can look this up. We have some excellent studies that have been done out of ASU, out of a book we did on SB 1070. So this whole narrative that this administration is doing nothing about immigration is disingenuous. When you have a president who's being criticized for deporting kids, too many kids are being deported.
And he's being criticized by Hispanic groups.
Exactly. So he's being criticized for not doing enough, at the same time for doing too much. And so again, a lot of these quick phrases that we hear may not be so substantive, but again, we like to believe them.
Let's talk about how much this has changed the political discussions, not just in Arizona, but also elsewhere. You have Governor Perry sending the National Guard to the border.
Yeah, and this has been kind of a contentious issue. Just like Arizona, not everybody believes that agencies other than federal immigration agencies, for example, not police or not the National Guard, should be carrying out immigration activities. And so certainly the argument is that if I may be afraid to call for help for somebody that maybe can turn me in or I can be deported, right? One of some of the same arguments that we had for SB 1070. And some of the same ones for the National Guard. They're not properly trained on immigration details. And he made it very clear, though, that they're supposed to be out there to help with the drug cartels, and they can help and they can detain immigrants. But again, a lot of people don't think this is a very good idea.
And yet you have several of the leading candidates on the Republican side here in Arizona arguing for, actually not arguing, they're saying if they were governor, they'd be sending troops to National Guard to the border.
Right, and we know we got ourselves in a little bit of trouble, again, for the state trying to carry out immigration laws, when again, it's supposed to be the federal government carrying out these laws. So, a lot of these kind of statements, you really have to check and see. Another good one are the actual numbers that get thrown around during elections. There's 1 million people coming in every year, or we have a precise and accurate assessment of the unauthorized population, when again, these are woefully, woefully inflated.
And yet, even though there have been articles in the paper pointing out the flaws in the logic of doing some of these things that the candidates are calling for, it seems to be gaining traction.
Right. Okay, there's a couple things that I would suggest studying this for so many years, is that politicians or elected officials or political parties need to be a little bit more far-thinking, not so short-sighted. And we know for various reasons that by being so short-sighted or just wanting to get reelected, that the implications for politics down the line pretty broad, pretty important. And so, for example, we know that the longer Republicans take to work on this comprehensive proposal, the more likely these people are going to align with as Democrats. We know that. Another argument is that this big comprehensive proposal that they had last year, bipartisan proposal with Democrats and Republicans in the Senate that was passed, right? There's a big reason why there's a fight about this. And if we were to legalize 11 million people and then naturalize, give them citizenship, and this is after 15 years at least, there's a real fear that these people will vote and not as Republicans, that they're going to be voting as Democrats. And so there's a lot of, you don't want to think long, you want to think long term and sort of quick, I need to get reelected. And so, some of these people that are in office that are in safe districts can be, pretty tough on immigration because they know that this has worked before and this is what has gotten them reelected. But I would suggest thinking again about the long-term implications. So here's a good example. Every year, something like 200,000 eligible Latino voters over the 18 will be eligible to vote every year, because this is a community that's growing and getting older. So it's a real formidable force. The other thing with all the anti-immigration and with SB 1070, we saw some new immigration politics. And so, for example, the economic boycotts absolutely had an impact on immigration politics.
But it's hard to convince candidates who are running for office right now to think long term.
Exactly.
And we're almost out of time, but I want to talk about some of the ads we've been seeing and some of the statements that have been made. Christine Jones and
the same
Andrew
sort of
Thomas.
narrative. Yep, the same one. We need to secure the border. We need to finish the fence. We need to send out the National Guard. Those three. A more interesting ad I saw was Andrew Thomas's recent one, where he has the Mexican flag and a big red circle and an X through it. And he even says, I stopped, and you can look this up, I stopped the illegal immigrants, and now they've only come back into Arizona to now demonstrate and protest against
And
this
then we've
now.
got Christine Jones, who, if she did send the guard to the border, it sounds like she would send them to the wrong one.
Yeah, there was an unfortunate event where she's at an Arpaio fundraiser, I believe, and talked about how Mr. Arpaio likes to help immigrants through the Rio Grande,
Which doesn't run through Arizona.
which doesn't run through Arizona.
Well, on that note, we're going to have to end our interview. Thank you so much for joining
Thank you
us
so
on
much.
Horizonte.
Thank you.
An annual art festival is turning sidewalks into colorful canvases. The Southern Arizona Arts and Cultural Alliance organized the third Park Place Chalk Art Festival. AZPM's photojournalist Matt Eriks shows us the artists and their works of art.
This is the third annual Park Place Chalk Art Festival. It's a spectacular showing of local artists throughout the state of Arizona, as well as a business support for the arts. The event was conceptualized as a creative way to do that, to attend the mall, but also have a spectacular experience outside of just shopping. Chalk is definitely something that it's a growing art form around internationally. So this is kind of a way to bring it to the locals here in Southern Arizona. Anyone could participate, emerging, established artists from any background or type of art specifically.
I'm Gina Roboto, and I've been a professional mural artist for about 20 years. Today I'm doing a portrait of Frida Kahlo. She was a famous female artist back in the early 1900s out of Mexico. She had a very painful life, and even through her pain she created beautiful pieces, and so that's kind of one of the reasons I chose her and one of the reasons I love her.
My name is Wesley Fawcett Cree. I'm an artist based in Tucson, Arizona. A lot of my work tends to be driven by social commentary or political commentary, and I like to do these events so I can kind of take a break from that and just focus on making a beautiful image. And in this case, the image is a tribute to summertime or springtime in the desert when the saguaros are blossoming. I just think nature provides us with such beauty and such extravagance that we don't really need to look much further, or I don't tend to look much further. The hardest part is figuring out the mechanics and subtleties of the chalk medium, because normally I'm a painter. I start with a sketch. Then when I arrived here, the first thing I did was do an 8x6 square grid on the floor. So it translates directly from the sketch onto the surface.
The hardest part for me has been the size and being on the ground like this. I'm used to working on walls, so it's kind of hard on the body. And getting the perspective right when you're looking at down is also a little challenging. My favorite part is interacting, I think, with the people. Usually I'm painting in, people's homes, or I don't get a little audience, so that's been fun.
I really get a lot out of letting kids watch me work, because I can see how inspired they get, and I remember as a kid myself how inspired I'd get watching artists work.
We have kids ages 2 all the way to 80 participating in their own signature murals. Over 3,000 children have participated in the murals over the course of 2 days.
Artists do what they do because they feel good doing it in the moment. And we get satisfaction from having pieces that last, but you know, most of all we do it because it feels good in the very moment that we're making stuff.
The fact that they're not permanent is, it's kind of cool because you think, you know, it's almost like people are going to view this and then it'll rain and be gone. Kind of like music.
All the murals will be on display for up to 45 days following the event, so you can come experience this for a long time after this weekend.
Children's Action Alliance, in partnership with the Annie E. Casey Foundation, released 2 new comprehensive data reports on the status of Arizona families and children. One of the statistics in Arizona Kids Count data book shows Arizona ranks 46th in the nation on overall conditions for children, only 1 spot better than in last year's data book. With me to talk about the data is Dana Wolf-Neymark, President and CEO of Children's Action Alliance, and Dr. Renee Diaz, Board Member for the Children's Action Alliance and past Executive Director for the Arizona Hispanic School Administrators Association. Thank you both for joining us to talk about this subject. You know, we just finished an interview talking about the young children coming from Central America, and everybody's talking about that. The politicians, it's a big thing in the current gubernatorial campaign. Nobody's talking about the kids who are here.
Not yet.
Yet this report suggests we need to be talking about that and doing some serious remedial work.
I think that's a really important point. We have 1.6 million children growing up within our borders who are part of our community and who are our future. And candidates better be talking about that. And more than talking, they should be developing their action plans and their positions to improve children's health, education, and security.
Before we talk about how they might be persuaded to do that, give us a summary of some of the most significant findings in this report. And I know there's actually some good news, but before we get to that, let's talk about some of the things that are real problems.
One of the biggest problems is very low preschool participation. And we rank 49th, second worst in the country, and we've gone in the wrong direction. When we look at trends within Arizona, our preschool participation has gone down since 2000. There is a ton of research about the positive impact of preschool. It helps children start kindergarten ready to succeed. If they start behind, it's hard to ever catch up. And we have children of all races and ethnicities are at risk. Latino children have very low preschool participation rates and could benefit the most by helping them, again, start kindergarten on par with their peers.
And Dr. Diaz, talking about research, we have a lot that tells us how important the Latino population is to the future of Arizona. We're not making much progress, though.
Unfortunately, no. It's been the same over the last decades, a couple of decades, in terms of our Latino students being as successful as they could be. So it's important to be able to concentrate on that with our Latino kids. And there, in 2009, there were more Latino kids in grades kindergarten through 3rd grade. And then in 2011, that's when the K-12 student population became Latino. There were more Latino kids in K-12 schools in the state of Arizona than ever before. So there's more Latinos now in the schools, so we need to be able to pay attention to them and make sure that they're successful.
This report, though, is not very encouraging in that regard. What can be done to really get people's attention? When I was talking to Dana before about how do you get the politicians to focus on this?
To me, Jose, there was 2 key issues in the report. The first one was that the state of Arizona is not taking care of its children. Again, Dana just mentioned that we're ranked 46th in the nation when it comes to conditions of overall conditions of kids. The second key issue to me is that it's real clear that the conditions and opportunities for Latino students that are living in Arizona today will shape the future of Arizona's families, workforce, and economy. It is clear And why do I say that was part of the data that I just provided for you? There's more Latinos in attending our schools than any other group, student group. So we need to focus. You could ask the question, what is it that we can do? Going right back to what Dana mentioned, we need to focus on the preschool, get the students enrolled, and start helping them be successful. Because if kids fall behind, if the students are not reading at grade level by 3rd grade, they almost never catch up. And when I share that type of information, people say, oh no, that's hard to believe. Oh yeah, it's true. Because they're already they start falling behind in the early grades, and pretty soon that frustration comes in. There's a term that's used in terms of the disconnected youth. Disconnected youth are identified as students between the age, or youth between the ages of 16 and 24 who are neither in school nor work. They're not working or in school. Phoenix leads the nation in disconnected youth. 1 out of every 5 young people in that age bracket are considered disconnected, which means they're not in school, they're not working.
And it's a subject we've talked about on this show recently. Dana, you may have been on the panel when we talked about that. Going back to some of the statistics, you've got the national report, you've got a companion Arizona data book, and I know that I think the national report talks about the 49% figure. What is it, from low-income families?
Right, that's in our Arizona report. 49% of kids throughout our state live in low-income families.
And it's worse for a number of counties in the state, am I right?
It is, and actually in 12 counties, it's more than half of our kids. So this is a prevalent characteristic of families and children in our state, and one we cannot afford to ignore. I think the good news is there are tools and practical strategies that can work to help kids. And we have some profiles of Arizona families and Arizona kids along with the data in the report. And what we know from that is, of course, it takes personal responsibility. It takes loving parents and mentors and hard work. It also takes systems around us that help us succeed. We all count on systems, public and private. And so we need to strengthen some of those systems for early education, for child care, for health care for children. And if we strengthen those systems, we know that Latino children, white children, American Indian children can have a greater chance of success.
And Dr. Diaz, there is some other good news in the report, as I understand. One has to do with the rate of arrest of juveniles for violent crime.
Yes, that is down, and
down rather significantly.
I believe so. I don't remember the actual data on that. What was it, Dana?
The rate is down by about half since 2000, so it's pretty dramatic. And statewide in 2013, there were only 1,600 youth arrested for violent crimes. That's incredibly low and probably much lower than most viewers would have guessed. So that is a good news. We can build on that by making sure that kids of all ages have opportunities for positive experiences.
And the other piece of good news is graduation.
Yes,
graduation rates.
Yes, graduation rates have also gone up. So the schools, I believe, are, Dana used the term system. So the school systems, the school districts, are looking at their entire organizational systems and trying to make improvements there. And part of the graduation rate, much of the general public blames the high school districts for the dropout rate and the graduation rate if it's not very high, but it really begins in the lower grades. So it's critical that we connect all the students in the elementary schools, that they're being successful in the elementary schools and experience that success, so then they also have experience in the high school so that they can graduate. But yes, the school systems are devoting their attention and they're focused on that graduation rate to make sure more students are being successful in graduating.
So Dana, timing, some people might say it's not good to expect the legislature to put more money into these issues because they're now faced with a court ruling that says they have to pay billions of dollars into the school system that they owe. Is that going to help or hurt?
So it's not only about money, it's about leadership, it's about focus, it's about working together on strategies that work. I think we have this challenge now before us that we should be very excited about, to go back and rematch our budget, to connect with voter priorities for education, to reinvest in children and to that educational success. I think that gives us a chance to reset and reboot our overall budget, our budget and tax priorities, and look at a lot of the trade-offs we've made and re-examine them.
Well, we'll see soon, I assume, how successful we are in resetting and rebooting, but this discussion, I think, will be of some help. Thank you both for joining us to talk about this important topic.
Thank you.
And don't forget, if you want to watch previous episodes or find out what's coming up on the show, just go to our website, azpbs.org, and click on Horizonte. That's our show for tonight. From all of us here at Horizonte and 8, I'm Jose Cardenas. Have a good evening.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station.